I think I accepted it twice.
You accepted. I'm here.
All right. I accepted it twice to make sure that you were allowed to join my Instagram live.
I feel honored.
The what's you want to tell everybody why we have to go so late? How's everybody doing at the house?
Very good. I just got off baby duty. She returned at about 8:10. So just got freed up. So yep, my 2-month-old daughter.
Yeah.
My wife just returned to work. Ariel's back on the ice as of a couple weeks ago, and so Wednesday night I'm on baby duty. So I just got
All
tagged out.
right. All right. And
I like that
and
you have your bookshelf with everything behind you tonight, because last night I had mine, and now I can see everything. What do you have back there?
well, I wasn't here last night. I was at
Yeah.
the I don't have one of the most giant whiteboards you could buy bolting it into the rental house here, but what do I have behind me? I mean that might take a minute, but let's see. Um, well, look, you got that's one of my prized possessions. It's not like an original, but it's not like a computer
Hmm.
remake of Scrooge. Then does this zoom? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! Look at that! All right. So that is a scene from what happened? Nope. Oh, there's a rug. That might be cool. Um, so up here is a famous scene from Snow White where all the
Yeah.
dwarves are walking. Yeah. Let me see what else is over there. Yeah, Mickey is in front of them, and then in the back that I don't think you can see is from Wilderness Lodge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. As a Patriots fan, I'm sure you'll get a kick out of this one.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, this is has a big story. So
Hmm.
so in the 60s, I don't know which came first. It was a painting but I don't know if it was of a fireman with Mickey or the policeman. It's the exact same print. It's just drawn differently. And this I was trying to find it for a long time. Allie found it, but it was it's not not something I don't talk about very often. My grandfather passed away in the line of duty as a fireman,
Oh, wow.
and I remember when let's see, the poster is right there.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
and I know the day I got the poster, my grandmother passed away, so I never opened the poster for a long time. So one day that became framed, and I found Allie was able to find because when they retire things, so like they
Hmm.
make you buy it. But that was we got some Funkos. So here's another Scrooge and Daniel Bryan
Nice.
and Kyle Rayner, White Lantern.
Nice. One
And,
thing Jim in the comments just said, Mr. Money in the Bank.
yeah, so up here is Ironhide from Transformers, Money in the Bank briefcase. In one restaurant in Disney, it is the most expensive restaurant. I've never been to it. I'll go, but they serve like $100 bottle of water, but it's only like $90 if you buy it on the internet. Uh, Hal Jordan, which obviously I don't take that out. Um, so I can't. I don't think I can. I don't want to like reach
Yeah,
over
yeah.
because I got too much. But there's Daniel Bryan's championship belt.
Very cool.
Uh, this one will be familiar to many people. Another Funko. This is the Hall of Justice.
Nice.
Uh, how about this? So I did not know that it was a thing that when somebody buys you like a bottle of liquor or some bottle of wine, that you keep the cork. I had no idea.
I
So
didn't know that
this,
either.
yes, I guess that's a thing. So Scarlett set up to get us into Club 33 in California, which is like way harder to do than Club 33 here in Florida. And it was me, Dave Sabo, and the Cosgroves. So first off, I'm like, I go to Alan, I'm like, hey, you want to go to Club 33? And he goes like, I'm thinking like, are you out of your mind? Because first of all, when you're not from someplace, you think it's like very close.
Yeah.
Except I'm like, yeah, you're in LA. Just pick me up in LAX and then we'll go to Disney. I'm like, that's like a 2.5 hour ride for him.
Yeah.
So he looks it up and he goes, yeah. So it's basically like there's not even a wait list. So they let Scarlett in, but she still had to pay full price. So we can go without her. And it's like if you don't know where it is in Disneyland, you would just walk by it. It's very camouflaged. So because I'm sure people like trying to look in and take pictures or whatever. So I hit the button, and the lady opens. It's like an innkeeper in some kind of horror movie. I'm like, Charlie from the table for group of four. And they're like, oh, come on in. So we come in and we have some waters. It's like this mega setup. Now here's the thing: a different girl comes down the steps, looks right at me, and she's like, oh, Mr. Weingroff, thank you. Welcome to Club 33. And I'm like, oh, hi, thank you. How did you know it was me? There's two other guys here. Welcome to Club 33. So this was from that, and then this is a new one. I've wanted this one for a long time, and finally found it. Ellie Sadler driving the Jurassic Park Jeep.
Isn't that very nice?
Yeah. And here's another one to rub in your face.
Ooh. Oh, ouch.
So I don't think there's anything else really good here. There's a couple other things maybe. But yeah, who recognized the Money in the Bank? Somebody recognized the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, Jim Bro Huge. He said Money in the Bank. He's probably still on here.
The Money in the Bank briefcase was a big part of the wedding. Is this an NFT convention? I can make it one if somebody wants to buy it. But hey, what'd you think about last night?
I thought it was really good. I rewatched it today as I just kind of trimmed the ends of it and put it up on Strength. It's uploading the Strength Coach now, actually. I thought it was really good. I think the whiteboard actually is a helpful way to do it. And I don't know if it's just your delivery while you write that makes it really clear for people, but I think the way you describe the heart with like the trampoline and the diagram from an explanation of why like you said, training with oxygen or training without oxygen and why.
Well, look, it's there's a lot of things that and if so we're not talking in code here. If anybody so we did a webinar only for strengthcoach.com, and it would have been, I think it's fair to say, a much more extended version of an Instagram post that I did recently. So to see the Instagram post, you'll get a good idea. But then what we did last night would have been, it's probably much less time that we spent on any one individual topic when we filmed EPP. But remember that that was almost like 3 years ago, and the content the content is still very it's not like T equals R1 where I would probably tell people it probably might be down to half of things that I actually believe and the other half I cringe that I actually said. But your voiceover changes. It's like my ways of explaining it is different. So sometimes watching the same topic, but like it's the information is the same, but the speaker is different or you're different. And that's it's if somebody were to watch that and still be under the suggestion that they don't need to do whatever they feel like calling aerobic training, that's wild. That would be really wild. I think that's the CM Punk line that remember I told you last night. George kept wanting me to say, "Yo, let me know when I'm lying." Okay, I'll wait. Let me know when I'm saying something that doesn't have scientific merit, because I'm always quick to say, in my opinion. It is not my opinion. how you if you go on the elliptical and can maintain 140 for 60 minutes, you're doing something that will support how quickly you can recover from a sprint. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you get better at recovering from not going hard. But there's a line that another line we didn't use last night, but like here the secret to never ever getting tired is when you train, don't ever get tired.
Yeah.
And it's it's a complete challenge to the thought process of, well, we got to learn how to make free throws when we're tired at the end of the game, and comments like that, which
Mm-hmm.
is just basically, I would say, it is not my opinion, but it is completely inconsistent with what we know about science in terms of motor skills and fatigue. That's number one. But number two, we're not better at shooting free throws. So,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at certain sports, we're not better. And like
Mm-hmm.
nobody's guarding you. Like they're not even allowed to clap at you, when you shoot a free throw. It's like golf. Like the ball doesn't move. Like your caddy is gonna curse me out if I take a picture of that click. So there are certain sports that are so resistant to intelligent training approaches, but we're not better at them. It's
Yeah.
so it's
And on your note of like your message or your delivery changing, I mean, you wrote an article, it might have been 10 years ago now, that was really helpful for me, that touched on the same exact topic, which was, you had written on your blog, it was called Training Me On and Training Me Off.
Oh, okay. I got to look that one up. It sounds like a good title.
It talked about why aerobic or work supports higher intensity interval work, and why even when you're doing interval work, you're doing aerobic work. So the very much of the things that you talked about,
Yeah.
but this might have been in 2012 or 2014, something like that you wrote this article, and I still reference it and send it to our staff, but it was much of the same message.
Yeah.
But the way you delivered it last night, I think, with the whiteboard, and the way you deliver it now, I think it was very, very good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So you have to either buy EPP or buy Strength Coach if you want to see it. But
Yeah.
but one of the things we didn't mention last night, it just didn't. It's certainly complimentary, but I use the most sensational example of being on an elliptical for an hour. There's so many things that you can do that you probably can't lift weights for the purpose of strength and power. That probably won't work but to put to do a bunch of triplanar stuff with dumbbells, it's the same thing. Like you're and you might be able to check some more boxes. In EPP, we talked about the 29-minute program. You remember the story.
Mm-hmm.
So in Canada basketball, when we would stay in the hotel after the game, sometimes the food wouldn't be ready by the time we got back. So let's say we get back 9:45 from a 7 o'clock game. That's not unreasonable, but dinner's not going to be ready till 10:30 because we were far away. You have to call them or whatever. So I'm like, guys, the 29 minutes, that's all I need. But let's go, let's get cleaned up, and then everybody's in the hotel weight room. So now it's a hotel weight room in South America, so it's a toilet, and so 29 minutes we would do 5 minutes on any cardio equipment they wanted, and it had to remain like 50% effort, like 5 RPE of 5.5. So that takes you 5 minutes. And then I said, pick whenever you want to do 20 repetitions of a push. Then another 5 minutes, 20 repetitions of pull, another 5 minutes, 20 repetitions of leg, whatever you want to do, body weights, split squats, another 20, another 5. So now you got 20 minutes of cardio, 20 reps, 20 reps, 20 reps, and then 20 reps of core. You can pick whatever you want to do. So at no point if you do single arm, so that means you're doing, you have to switch and do 20 and 20. So you basically do 80 reps and 20 minutes, you're out of there in 29 minutes. So part of the culture was 29-minute workout. So what does that do? you're not getting stronger. You're not working on anything top end in terms of your cardio, but you're probably keeping your heart rate up, but you're
Mm-hmm.
really not resting very much,
Mm-hmm.
and you just use a different vehicle to achieve eccentric heart adaptations, which probably is not a target adaptation for an elite basketball player, but the peripheral vascularization that also comes along with those protocols would be of high value after a game, since
Mm-hmm.
they probably ripped up a lot of those peripheral vascularizations via acidosis. Ripped up is not an official term if anyone's interested. So that would be a really good, like I see every so often, and you never really know what's legitimate or not when the major media shows guys working out after the game.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really went hard in a game, like what are you doing? Yeah, like you can't
Yeah.
like so if you are paying for some of this super explosive training, we know that muscles don't contract as hard under
Mm-hmm.
certain fatigue conditions. So what are you doing? Like, well, it looks like they're lifting, it looks like they're trying to do things, but they're really just moving. And then, are you picking the best exercises to move? So, like that's where lifting after practice, especially in college, where these kids get buried by these coaches. You got to work hard, and but that doesn't mean don't go to the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
That means it doesn't even mean that you can't have a barbell in your hand. But I don't think you can use the barbell to get stronger or more explosive. Your body is not receptive to this. You have to train
Mm-hmm.
beforehand or another time. Excuse me. So that would also been quite complementary to what we talked about last night. But so if somebody said that you don't need an aerobic base or whatever these wild comments are, and they saw that, what do you think? Do you think they would be, wow, man, you really explain that in a different way, or nah, I'm not doing it. Like
I
I'm
mean,
still.
so there's two things that I want to say. One, on that question, when you explain that, like, even when you are at a high heart rate, if you have the eccentric adaptations in the heart, you're still delivering more blood per pump, so more volume every time. That's a great explanation as to why you need to have some sort of eccentric heart, even if you're someone who's going to be working at high intensities, because all being equal, the person who can pump more blood out of that left ventricle each time is going to be better off, right? And so,
Yeah,
and that's an
and
understanding I think
yeah, like I
doctors have.
learned. Yeah, like I'm almost trying to learn from everybody listening. Like, okay, I am very confident in my understanding of the physiology. What I'm not confident in is what people are hearing all the time and how
Mm-hmm.
they're interpreting it. Because it might be fun to do the CM Punk lines, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I would like to understand why somebody would say you do not need an aerobic base, which I have seen people say.
Mm-hmm.
So tell like, well, then, because if you say that, then I think that one of the next things you probably have to say is, no, there's no such thing as eccentric heart contractions.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as changes in stroke volume. Um, that's one of the omega wave measures is called metabolic reaction index, and it roughly translates to stroke volume. There's other factors involved in it because they're all kind of mysterious and hard to translate from Russian. But if stroke volume changes, well, how'd that happen? Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Why did less blood come out like that? Because that's what stroke volume is. It's a component of cardiac output. So that's and that actually also something that I don't think we talked about it last night, but I talked about before. Well, I have no problem with calling it cardiac output, but again, I'm going to choose to the to call it eccentric heart, because if you get your heart rate really, really high, that's also cardiac output. You
Mm-hmm.
know, stroke volume plus heart rate equals cardiac output. So why would we call cardiac output something that you only do relatively slow? Very
Mm-hmm.
value, as usual. It's never. it's like the word or the definition. One of them is totally on point.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes not both. And that's well, we'll see. It's a people on strength coach can see it, and it's and look, I'm not the only one talking about it either. It's
No.
it's why I just don't talk about it on Twitter.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly. You just
I don't.
you don't
I,
engage on
I'll
social
talk
media.
about all this stuff. Yeah, I'll talk about all this stuff behind me on Twitter instead of these. They just want to knuckle up. They get to argue or even connect somehow. Probably with somebody that they look up to, and it's the only way they could figure out a
Connect.
way to. Yeah, it's not cool.
It,
Not cool.
and another thing that you touched on just now when you talked about the 29-minute workout, I think when you're talking to coaches who work with Gen Pop in a commercial model, right? So they have a 60-minute session or whatever it might be. I think the common thing you hear them say is like, "Oh, I can't do like you said, aerobic-based work because I'm not just going to put them on a bike or a treadmill or an elliptical for 30 minutes." And so them understanding that you put a heart rate monitor on somebody, and like you said, a 29-minute circuit where the intensity is lower, and you're looking to get the eccentric heart adaptation that you referred to.
Yeah.
There's ways that they can deliver this with variable methods as opposed to saying you're going to go steady state. And I think that's a lot of things that people miss because maybe they're not using heart monitor or they're not, you going asking people their RPE and not thinking outside of that box. But I think for the
Well, what
average
if
Gen Popper, that's an important point.
what if you just did, so when you're doing your warm up, dynamic warm up, movement prep, whatever you want to call it, it's whatever you do before you start really busting your ass, at least towards the end.
Yep.
So if you go up and down, walking knees, walking quads, what if you just did that 3 times?
Yeah.
And what if you did everything 3 times? Because if your warm up is 20, and there's a reason I'm saying three, because if your warm up is 20 minutes and you did one rep of everything, which is however many repetitions or exposures, and then you just triple it basically. If it took you 20 minutes, then it should take you around 60.
Mm-hmm.
That is just as good of a exposure than this cyclic repeat of being on an elliptical or running. It's all the same. And then furthermore, if you just set up the exact same boot camp that some douchebag is doing somewhere,
Yeah.
and the same exact negative work to rest ratios that they're going to do, so everybody's just basically crawling out, and oh my God, I feel horrible. That was a great workout.
Yeah.
And you just did those exercises at whatever pace you felt like,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't even worry about output, like to do it explosively, and there was no loud music, and nobody was getting on you to go harder, and then you just moved on to the next station. And if you felt like using a lighter weight or doing less reps, then you did it, that would also be just as good. And you have now an opportunity to expose them to all these different movements.
Mm-hmm.
I set up like a cardio, do whatever kind of day. So I had the air guy for a minute. I walked over and did the rower for a minute. I had 2 sleds set up, and that is just an example. I know not everybody has access to that kind of a space. What I do? One sled had a yoke, so I pushed it. So I'm not using my arms. I turned it around and then leaned on it, so I have a posterior chain and an anterior chain. And then the other sled, I pulled lateral with one arm and then the other one. And I take as much time as I want in between any of them. And I did not wear a heart rate, but I'm quite confident that if I average out everything that I did, I didn't do my max at 1 minute.
No.
On those two. I don't have 500 pounds on the sled, but everything was somewhat, probably above a 5. But I'm also resting whenever I feel like it. I'm going to drink, whenever I feel like it. And if somebody wants to talk, then we talk. Like it's a very low mental intensity, which will help, not artificially, but in this supplementary way, maintain a lower heart rate from a neurological standpoint. Like if you're really rocking and ready to get into it, your heart rate is going to just go up
Mm-hmm.
naturally.
Yeah.
So there's a it's very interesting. Well, I'm glad that you approved of it as it goes into your channels, but I hope people see that. You know what? And if somebody you really look up to or somebody doesn't make sense, like they're allowed to talk. Like you don't have to tell them. It's that I don't think that's necessary. As somebody that happens to not so much anymore because of how I've changed my social media presence. It's not cool. It's like, dude, like, do you actually think I care what you say? Like, I think
Yeah.
everything that I do is 100% the best. Otherwise, why would I be doing it? So it's like there's nothing you can tell me. It's when you're challenging me like that. But
Mm-hmm.
if but I still I probably still take more courses and you know pay full price and get on a plane and do all the things that everybody used to do 8, 10 years ago all the time, and now it's not so cool anymore. But anyway, that's so you'll have to be a member to see that, right?
Yes, correct. You'll either
Okay.
have to be a member or, like you said, go purchase the Elite Performer program.
Yeah, where you still won't get what we did last night,
No,
but
no, you won't see that.
you'll get something different. So how many years now are you at MBSC and all the different things that are part of it now, which, as we know, weren't always a part of it.
Yeah, since 2008, I started as an intern with Nicole Rodriguez as my intern director in 2008. And from there, I was part-time for a year or two while I was in college, and then full-time since 2010. I've been there and then kind of grown from there.
So that would have been around the earliest, maybe a year before, when my name mattered and started to matter a little bit. So
Hmm.
I think at that time there was just the gym,
Yes, that
and
was
and
it.
there was a lot of other people like my age that maybe didn't always connect because we didn't have social media, we didn't have those things,
Hmm.
like Mike Potenza,
Yep.
and there's and there's a line somewhere that got like this dotted line where, like you mentioned, Nicole Rodriguez, who's doing some good things. You see her name quite a bit. Basically, if you worked at Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning, at some point you were obliged to move on. Like you had no choice to move on because you couldn't grow anymore. Like there was and you couldn't make more money. So Boyle just snapped his fingers, and most people would get a really really cool job. And then from the outside looking in, starting to see, then there was this like brand extensions, and I
Hmm.
don't know like that's what it is. Whether he and Bob called them that. So what was the first one? Because it was something that I remember Kevin Larrabee would film everything. What was
Hmm.
it? It was Mike. It was what
Body
was
by
it?
Boyle Online.
That's it. That's
And
it.
it
Yeah.
became MBSC. So I'll tell you, so they
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
Body by Boyle Online, and it was every staff meeting. It was like the real world. Like
That's
everything we did, they would film. And then when we started hosting seminars and having in-services, we started putting those on there. And at some point, when Larrabee wanted to sell out of that venture, Brendan and I bought him out as well as Anthony and took over that. And that's when it became MBSC TV over the last few years.
But then,
Um,
but then there's another route of certified functional strength coach.
correct. Yes.
So there's points where so many people that I know that they would move on. Jamie Rodriguez, who I continue to try to stay in touch with as much as I can, for hopefully good reasons. So and others regardless of their situations of why they moved on, everybody was always there. I was always like the older brother, it felt like.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
and so I keep in touch with everybody and that I can and do. But the when these brand extensions came out, when strengthcoach.com became a thing,
Hmm.
then people didn't have to move on because there was other revenue sources that people like you could stay at home in Boston and still be a part of this machine.
Hmm.
but doing more than just,
Coaching.
coaching. Yeah. So that's
I
so what
always said
other?
that I've been fortunate in the timing, and that like when I showed up, when I first started coaching there, I looked at the group of coaches that were there, and I think of Devin McConnell was there, Jamie was there, Nicole was there, Garnett was there, Dan Gableman, who's at Union, Josh Bonnetal at Future. All of them were coaching there at the time. And to me, I was like, I learned Kyle Holland as well. And I learned a lot from all of them, different ways to coach. Like they all had their own individual things that I learned from them individually. And that was like my early kind of Mount Rushmore of people I learned from. It was my first experience in strength conditioning. And I was just very fortunate in that I was there at the point in Mike's career when these brand extensions started happening. So I could have an extended career. And he gave Brendan and I the opportunity to start the massage business.
Yeah.
It was fortunate that we moved into the new facility in 2010. And so when we moved into the new facility in 2010, and then we took up that big turf room next door in 2011, there was this empty space in the front. I think I rent about 1,200 square feet in there, and there was nothing in it. And Brendan and I were coming out of massage school at that very time. And we were kind of at that point an integral part of the gym, helping write the program, doing the internship, all this stuff. And we essentially asked Mike and Bob, like, hey, we want to be able to stay here and build a career here. And they were, forward thinking enough and willing enough to say, hey, you can take this space for your business while you also manage and run this business, as long as they don't interfere with one of another.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was very fortunate in timing, because if I was a few years earlier, that probably wouldn't have been the case.
Yeah, and that's I think a cool lesson for everybody. When I say everybody has an outlier story, it's not to put themselves at the same level of some of the people that are recognized in Gladwell's book. The thing is that at some point you flip a coin, and I know for me I have a similar story where if you go left instead of right, the whole time space continuum is different. But that's where I wonder if those brand extensions were there earlier. Where would all these people be? It's because there's so many people. Obviously, social media has a part in recognizing and promoting some of the people that you mentioned, but where would they all be? Would they have stayed there? And then the bounty of really great coaches and great people is the common thread there. So, but it's also okay. I remember being at Equinox all those years, and that's a similar situation where you do hit a ceiling for most people. And I'm like, guys, like you can. I would name so and so and so and so and so and so. All these people that you follow on social media and you listen to their podcasts or whatever, they all started here. They all and they moved on the right way, and now they're a friend of the program. But that's a but you mentioned that one of the things that I don't know, do you still do this? Like, do you still manage the internship program?
I no longer manage it. Dan McGinley and Ben Connolly have taken that over. I'm more in the day-to-day management, along with Steve Bigelow and Vinny, kind of on the day-to-day managing staff, programming, things like that. But the internship day-to-day, Dan McGinley really handles the curriculum now.
Well, we're gonna blow cover on this, but once we describe this, then it'll obviously never happen. So what year could it have been? 2012, 2013, who
Something
knows?
like that, yeah.
All right, you're gonna know.
Brendan and Anna. It was definitely when all of us were working together.
So the four of us are going to dinner. What's the name of the place? You're gonna know.
I can picture the restaurant.
It was real long. Right? Yeah. Okay, there you go. So we walk in. The other thing that is very memorable there was that they actually had Dude Vodka.
Yes.
That was a brand of vodka that it was like the first flavored, but they had no licenses. So they couldn't call it like Fruit Loops. They called it like something else. So the Mountain Dew flavored vodka was called Dude Vodka. It was green. it did not really taste like Mountain Dew, as somebody that I'm qualified to say this. But so I remember that. But what was most memorable, yeah, we're having dinner, and I said, well, what if you tried this? And Anna, if I'm not mistaken, Anna starts taking notes.
Oh,
And
still has them.
yeah, I don't know where these notes are or where they may be. We have to go through Google. So what I wanted you guys to do was pick somebody that the interns didn't know worked at the gym. Because, like, wouldn't it be like day one or day two, Boyle would come in and kind of read them the riot act, like if your shirt's not tucked in or whatever. All very, very good things. But what I wanted was, around that period of time, for you guys to hand out an examination, like, and the questions would be some of the most ridiculous and off the wall questions you could possibly think of. And everybody's got to keep a straight face. So imagine if you're doing this exam and you start to look up, like, one of the questions would be, what year did Dr. Philip Dorsey invent dorsiflexion? That was one of the questions.
That was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and then 1957, 1956, like, and then if I saw that, I'd be like, I look around, like, what is going on here? So we're going to go over some of the ones that at least I can remember. But what I wanted to happen was the plant in the room, who would have been an MBSC coach, get up and be like, what is this is so disrespectful. Like, Charlie, you're gonna need to sit down. Listen, it's just a test. Like, nothing bad happens. No, I'm not doing this. Is embarrassing. Okay, like, and then everybody would get scared, and then they would calm down, and then do it again, and then you guys would throw them out.
Yeah.
And imagine how scared all these interns would be, because they're being asked to answer questions such as, please discuss your feelings on turf. Include type, color, and your feelings on those tiny little pebbles that live inside.
Another one was, can you touch your toes? You cannot stand up.
Well, we can think of a couple that would just fit in perfectly, like, I'm just making myself laugh thinking of it. The one that was most memorable was Dr. Dorsey, because
that's one in particular, yes.
Dr. Philip Dorsey. Yeah. So in college, I imagine this is how we got there. So in undergrad, I was a freshman, and there was a dude that was in the house before that everybody still there didn't like. And they found him, and he was like in seminary, like he was studying for religious studies. So we made up an application that was very similar to the one I was recommending, and somehow we found him, and it was this amazing scheme. And he answered every question. He answered every question, and then because I was a freshman, he would have been a fifth year, so he didn't know me. So I didn't even have to change my voice when we called him to tell him that he was not selected for this, and it was just ridiculousness. And he also lied. Like, there was questions about, like, have you ever had a car accident? And he said no. And I said, well, we actually have a discussion here with Detective Carr from the Collegeville Police Department, and can you please discuss this event that you've been accused of? Oh, like, we just destroyed her. Like, this questionnaire would have been very, very similar, and perhaps not as mean. But it's remember, all comedy is at the expense of somebody at some point. So
this is true. I think it would have worked very well, because on the very first day, we have that meeting where Mike essentially says, you got to brush your teeth. You have to dress appropriately.
What the fuck, brushing teeth?
Yeah.
What?
Listen, I've had interns, I've multiple interns. I've had to have the deodorant discussion and the teeth brushing discussion.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. How do you know if I don't brush my teeth?
Like their breath was so bad.
Okay, so if you have bad breath, that's one thing. But you could probably have bad breath and still brush your teeth, no?
This is true. This is true.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not so well trained in this. I brush my teeth regularly.
There were a couple that I had to bring in the office and say, like, hey, like, you smell so bad that, like, I don't know if you're not washing your clothes or you don't use deodorant. But,
You don't wash your clothes.
yeah, that was a discussion I've had before. And they're usually actually very thankful that I let them know because they're usually unaware. But for the most part, you don't have to have those discussions. Sometimes it's that the shirts are too tight or the shorts are too short or the shorts are hanging too low. That's usually the discussion.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's usually a clothing issue.
Does that still go over now where everybody's allowed to fight back and call you out no matter what you
Yeah, I
say?
mean, we give them their few T-shirts and their few pairs of shorts that they wear, and that's what we expect them to wear every day. We did have one person quit because they said the clothing was not flattering. And I said, that's not really what it's meant to be. That's just, this is what everybody wears when they work here. And they didn't work out, but everyone else tends to be fine with it.
So like it wasn't like a Nike Pro training, with the
Yeah, yeah. You know, the Reebok kind of, dry fit baggy shirt and Reebok shorts wasn't doing it for them, I guess. You know, the red and the black. But that
good
was
job,
about it.
good job saying them. So we don't know if it was a guy or a girl. Stick with that. That's good. That's good. I wonder, yeah, that's I would have to think, because it's a little segue here into things that places I've been and things that I work on now. I would have done a lot to at least follow them out the door and asking them what the real problem was because it's not the clothes.
Yeah.
And that's probably their way of maybe begging somebody to actually ask them or to show that they care. They still would have been out the door, but I wonder what their real problem was because it wasn't their clothes. Like
Yeah,
that
well, it was
wasn't.
in this specific instance, it was after the first couple weeks of coaching, which can be really intensive for someone
Yeah,
who
yeah,
was
they were
coming
struggling.
from, yeah, and you tend to see that. I say usually the internships are a really good opportunity for us to figure out if you're a good fit for us. It's also a really good opportunity for you to figure out if you're a good fit for this career. Because there's some people who come in and like the idea of fitness because they like working out, but then when they actually have to coach people all day, they realize that that's probably not what they want to do. And that might have been a valuable experience for them as well. Like it's
Yeah,
just as valuable for them to figure out that it's not a good fit. So,
it's like their way of saying that,
mhm.
which they didn't have in them, it was the clothes didn't fit right.
Yeah, exactly.
But but like when you know that, not to say that they would have stayed or would have been allowed to stay, but I keep trying to be that person that I wish I had coming
Hmm.
up. So but so what's is travel back in order with certified functional strength coach? I think it is, right?
Yes, yeah, we're back. I mean, we've been traveling pretty steadily since the end of 2020, pretty much
Okay.
back at it. And, the European ones were dicey for a little while. Obviously, no Canadian ones at all for a while, but now we're really back. Vinny left to Lebanon today. He's teaching in Lebanon all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah,
Pat's teaching in Chicago. No.
I'm not going to Lebanon. No, no,
No.
no.
He was like, I can't. This is our first one there. He was like, you're sending me. I said, I am sending you. Pat's in Chicago this weekend. I go to Croatia next week, so we're back in full swing teaching.
What
So that's gonna be my first trip since the baby to go to Croatia to teach. So, but
they
we have a bunch on the docket.
do they translate all those or
Um,
everybody understands English?
Lebanon, they'll translate. Croatia, everyone speaks English. Italy, I go to Italy with Ariel and the baby the following week, and they'll translate there because they're not doing it in English over there.
Yeah. The Costa Rica,
Hmm.
I started by saying in Spanish that I wound up doing about the whole thing in Spanish, and the translator he was like, no, like you started telling jokes in Spanish,
Yeah,
so They
For those of you listening, I did not know until I met you after a little while how great of Spanish that you speak.
well, I'm not saying it's great. It's
You can
Spanish.
teach a whole course in Spanish. I mean,
Well, I'm gonna guess the first time you heard me speak Spanish was sitting next to me at an Orlando Perform Better,
yes,
where somebody was translating for somebody else. I think it was Felix.
yes,
Uh, so even though in his country the language is Portuguese, which is very close to Spanish anyway, and I was like, watch this.
yes.
And I took the little mic and I started talking to, and then there was no more translation required. I don't think there was two people in the whole room that knew what the hell we were talking about
No.
because everything was in Spanish. So
um, but yeah, I mean, I think in Spain we always translate. In the Asian countries we always translate, but mostly European countries will teach in English, and so that makes it easy. And then Dan was actually in Costa Rica last week teaching too. We had one there last week, so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
busy.
that's good. That's good. The what about somehow you find your way to Dubai? You got a big fan there. They bring you like 5 times a year or some shit.
Oh God, yes. Well, so we used to have Perform Better over there, and then they closed down the franchise. The Perform Better
Ah,
franchise
ah.
there left. But there's a new company, and yeah, they've been great. I mean, so I was there. I'll go back again in December as well as to Egypt with them, which I've not been there. So that'll be a new location. I
Oof.
do want to see the pyramids.
Yeah,
So
no, I don't think I would do that one.
no,
There's the way my last name is spelled. I don't know that there's
right.
obviously yeah, as an American you're allowed to go, but if they don't like your last name in some of those places,
It could
you're
be
rocked.
dicey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's I've been to I'll continue to call it Qatar, whether it's Qatar or Qatar,
Yeah.
because it's people say both. So that there and Dubai, UAE, yeah,
Hmm.
that's cool. But some of the other, I don't think. Unless, I mean, I'm not saying I would never do it, but and then with a little bit of my background, that even though I don't have security clearance anymore, it's not like they can't find that out.
No.
Even though what I did had very little, if anything, to do with anything that would be a threat. But yeah, I don't. I'd be more worried about my last name. So it's because
Understandable.
yeah, yeah, Lebanon, Egypt. No, I don't. We can do it. We can do it remote.
Yeah, exactly. Bring up the
So
Zoom.
yeah, but you'll be at Perform Better as well, right?
Yep, I will get there Friday morning, and I'll be there all weekend. And I'm speaking
All
on
right.
Sunday.
What are you speaking about on Sunday?
Coach's guide to working with people who have low back pain.
Hmm.
And so I find myself a lot of times the topics come from the discussions I have with our staff in our education portion. And so the questions they give me, things that they might not be so sure about. And so it's usually developed from an in-service. And so I had spoken with a group of our staff members, like you see people come in the Gen Pop groups with pain all the time, and them kind of being unsure and how to coach them and how to train them, and what they need to be worried about or what they don't need to be worried about. And so I put together an in-service for them and just kind of built it from there. And that's, I figured, would be a good topic, especially for the crowd to Perform Better and people that'll be there, as far as providing some guidance and coaching for what they can do.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
That so you'll have to leave Chris Poirier's house early Saturday night because you have to work Sunday morning.
Yep. And so I'm without baby and wife on Friday, but they're coming Saturday morning. So I'll probably have to bring them back early anyhow, even if I wasn't teaching. So it kind of works out.
Oh, you and Ariel bring the baby to the house.
Yes. Yeah. We'll bring the baby to the house on
The
Saturday.
plan that's the plan as of now.
That is the plan. She's been pretty good. She usually is like a 10 o'clock bedtime. So usually that might work out.
All right, cool. Well, I go on Saturday,
Hmm.
and as it relates to the stuff we were talking about before, if we're gonna launch EPP again,
Hmm.
it'll only be available for a very short period of time. However, if you use the code, it's not going to be in the slide, so you have to actually come to the course if you want the eligibility to get into the launch. You'll also get a 1 month free if you don't already have it with strengthcoach.com, where then you can see the webinar that we were talking about. So I got that right. I nailed that. That's
Yep.
how it's going to work. Okay,
Yeah,
so
perfect. We'll have it, but
good.
you have to come to the lecture to get the code and get the link. So
Well, well, I guess somebody could go to the lecture and write it down or take a picture of it.
hmm
Uh, that's fine. Like you can, if you insist on doing that, I would be happy to take your money. And then you're gonna get your free month of strengthcoach.com, and then you're gonna have to pay Kevin to continue with that. And he too will be happy to take your money when you go to some other talk and somehow get the code. So. All right, man. Well, we never anything planned.
no,
I don't think either of us thought that Dr. Philip Dorsey would not be mentioned, so maybe that was planned. But you didn't know where it was coming, and I didn't know when it was coming either.
yeah, it's
We
always good.
we gotta find that list. I'm gonna you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go into my Gmail and just type in Anna,
Yep,
and then I'll see whenever email. Is she around? Like, is she still
yep,
on Earth? Yeah. What
yeah.
is she?
She's a strength conditioning coach at right down the road from me at a really nice private prep high school, and
Good.
she's a strength conditioning coach there. And she has a son who is maybe 8 months old, 10 months old now.
Yeah, man. If I ever see if Anna, if you're listening, man, if you had stuck around in pro sport, imagine where you'd be now. Holy cow! Like with how the
hmm
opportunities that women are getting, and
Yep,
uh, to have been in the beginning as someone very very competent coach, and also very very positive to be around. She could have been by now a very terminal position like you see with a lot of other young ladies. So, but I'm sure she's doing well. That's
yeah.
good to hear. All right, man. I'll see you when you get in.
Friday morning. Yep, I'll see you
Yep.
then.
All right, man. Well done. We'll talk soon.
Have a great night. Always good to
All
talk.
right.
Bye bye.
Be well. Bye bye.